And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Today's sea ice analysis showing sea ice-free conditions here from the Chukchi Sea eastward along the Arctic coast into Mackenzie Bay. And no change expected for the next few days anyway. And for the forecast for tonight, again, we've got low pressure tracking eastward into roughly around the Kobuk Valley there, and trough extending southwestward, bringing gusty winds, rain, and showers. Continuing it here over the western part of the state, new low, weak low tracks in toward the Susitna Valley. So look for increasing shower activity over south central Alaska, especially east of the Alaska Range tonight. Showers up over the northern interior and areas, and along the North Gulf Coast as well. Just generally mostly cloudy for the southeast coast with some clearing. Then tomorrow, a little bit better chance of some shower activity, especially in the north there, and staying mostly dry to the south. Showers and light rain for the North Gulf Coast. Showers and light rain actually for just about all of interior Alaska, with this low now slowly moving eastward. And this low also slowly moving eastward here. Winds start to diminish here over the Chukchi Sea into the northern Bering Sea. And showers along the coast continue through the afternoon, extending down to the Alaska Peninsula. It should be mostly dry for Kodiak Island again, maybe a few showers, a couple of showers here and there, but nothing heavy. And Alaska Peninsula, light winds out over the western Bering Sea. And then for Thursday, this next storm pushing in possibly gale force winds into the western Aleutians and Bering Sea. Light winds under the ridge axis here in the central Bering Sea. Still a little breezy here along the west coast. And showers and rain, most of interior Alaska with cloudy skies. North Gulf Coast as well. And the panhandle of that front approaching, you'll see increasing areas of light rain. And for the coastal water forecast, variable 5 to 10 knots for the south coast tomorrow. And for the central coast, west-southwest at 15 knots, seas 5 feet, south to southeast 15 to 20 knot winds for the north coast. Northern Panhandle, northern inside waters, Lynn Canal, Glacier Bay, south at 15, Stevens Passage, south winds at 10 knots. Same thing for Clarence Strait, light south winds. And then for Thursday, Clarence Strait, Stevens Passage, southeast winds 20 knots there, Lynn Canal, south at 20, and 15 knot southerly winds for the south coast. 20 to 25 knot winds here for the central coast, and east to south winds at 15 for the north coast. Prince William Sound tomorrow, south winds 15 knots, 3-foot seas. And small craft advisories here for the North Gulf Coast, west-southwest winds 25 knots, 5 to 6-foot seas. And for the Barren Islands, west winds 25 knots, small craft advisories for Kamishek Bay, southern Cook Inlet here for 30 knot winds from the west and southwest. And northern Cook Inlet, southwest at 25 with 6-foot seas. Lighter winds coming up Thursday for Cook Inlet. North winds at 10 for northern Cook Inlet, northwest 15 south of the Forelands. Small craft advisories continue for Kamishek Bay and the Barren Islands for northwest winds at 30 knots, 7 to 8-foot seas there. Western North Gulf Coast winds north at 15 knots. Eastern areas east-southeast at 20 knots. And Prince William Sound, east winds 20 knots with 3-foot seas. Kodiak Island for Wednesday, west winds 25 knots, 5 to 7-foot seas. Bristol Bay west at 25, and the Alaska Peninsula west-northwest 15 to 20 knots. And for Thursday, the Alaska Peninsula, northwest winds 20 knots, northwest 25 for Bristol Bay with those seas up to 7 feet. Kodiak Island west-northwest 20 to 25 knots. Eastern Aleutians, variable to northwest winds 10 to 15 knots. Light variable winds here from Atka all the way out to Shimei and Attu, 10 to 15 knots or so. Seas running 3 to 4 feet. And then for Thursday, on Alaska Island, northwesterlies 20 knots. Sudamak Island northeast at 15. Adak and Atka, southeast winds 20 knots. Gale warnings here with that next front coming into the far western Aleutians from Kiska to Shimei. South winds 35 knots, seas 11 feet. And for the Kuskokwim Delta coast tomorrow, west winds at 30 knots, 7-foot seas there, northwest at 20 for the Pribilofs, and northwest 25 for St. Matthew Island. Yukon Delta coast, northwest winds 25 knots, and 30 knot winds for Norton Sound and St. Lawrence Island. And for Thursday, St. Lawrence Island, Yukon Delta coast, northwest winds 30 knots, 6 to 7 foot seas, northwest 25 here south of Nunivak Island, north winds at 20 knots for St. Paul and St. George, but gale warnings for St. Matthew Island, east winds 35 knots. Eastern Boulevard Sea Coast tomorrow here on the east side, variable winds 10 to 15 knots, northeast at 20 for the central coast. And here for the western Arctic coast and the Chukchi Sea, small craft advisories for north winds 25 to 30 knots with 5 to 9 foot seas. And for Thursday, north winds 20 to 30 knots for the Chukchi Sea, western central Arctic coast winds north at 15 knots with 3 to 4 foot seas. And the east side there, northeast winds 15 knots with 3 foot seas.